What's up, guys? Isn't it a fantastic day to be alive? The weather's good. I played in a charity golf tournament yesterday. I picked up a new video game just today, Ghost Recon Wildlands. I've been playing Horizon Zero Dawn, if you are a gamer out there listening to this. And I did a mail pickup, and I have been shredding documents like I was an executive at Enron. Okay, sorry about the sound effects. I make that joke to myself. Maybe it's not even funny, but I make that joke to myself every time I spin up the shredder and feed it. But anyway, we have got... Let me know if you like those, by the way. Let me know if you like the sound effects or they're dumb. I just think they're kind of cool. I hope I'm not going overboard. But today we're going to talk about creating content that's going to build your business. We've got a lot of different topics that come over the show, and I think creating content and giving a large portion of it, 98% of it away for free, is how you're going to build your business. I mean, if you're a brand new attorney, let's use that as an example. I mean, what separates you from any of the other thousands of attorneys that graduate from law school every single year? I mean, maybe it's going to be the internship that sets you apart and you're a workhorse or you go above and beyond. But you can see how that's also working for free. If you want to start your own restaurant, you're probably going to have to give away a few free samples. If you're wanting to make your own jewelry, you're going to have to show people that you know what you're talking about, right? In a couple of episodes ago, let me see if I can find out the actual episode number, we talked about why you should be working for free, and that's kind of what we're talking about today. I'm not going to beat you over the head with it, but it's something that I wouldn't be here if I hadn't worked for free. You would not be listening. I mean, this is free content. Let's be honest. I mean, I charge quite a bit for some coaching and masterminds, but this is me sitting down without directly having revenue tied to it. And if you want to build your business, you're going to have to work for free. So we're going to talk about the types of content that you should be creating to build your business, establish yourself as an authority, and those kinds of things. But before we get into that, by the way, if you want to leave a comment for this post, you can go to ElleryWells.com/content marketing. That'll take you to the blog post that this is based off of. But before we get into that, I want to take just a couple of minutes and share with you a question that one of my mastermind members had, and then the answers that I shared with him. And his question is, how do I set my business up financially? And we went into some of the details. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this for a couple of reasons. Number one, when I set my business up in Texas, might not be how it is today. You are likely not in Texas, and there's also a good chance you might not even be in the United States. So I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time going into some of the details. I will point you in the right direction, or rather, I'll point you to an episode with Jessica Rhodes. It should be episode 64 of the Empowered Podcast. If you search my site, you will find it. I've been having issues where it was bumping up this particular episode to the very top as if it was a sticky post, and I don't know why. So I just republished it, even though she and I did that interview back in 2014. We talked about LLCs versus C Corps and S Corps. So I don't want to give you a definitive legal answer. I am not an attorney. I'm not even an accountant. All I am is a guy who has done this just once or twice, and I have got the questions coming to me from people who trust my advice. So that's what we're going to talk about. Then we're going to go into content marketing. Let's throw up a transition. We'll get right into it. I'm not one of those entrepreneurs who gave up their six-figure salary and fancy office to start a business, and I wasn't selling lemonade to my neighbors when I was 7. I wasn't born an entrepreneur, and I never laid awake at night dreaming of owning my own business. My name is Ellery Wells, and I was forced to make a decision. Welcome to the Ellery Wells Show, where we talk with real entrepreneurs about real problems that they're facing and real solutions on how they are overcoming obstacles, achieving their goals, and making a difference in the world. If you're an entrepreneur or an aspiring entrepreneur, this is the place to be to help you start, build, or grow your business. Hey, so I know there are some of you out there that just like cranking through podcasts. You're listening to me and you're like, oh man, he sounds so slow, or you're listening to me at 1.5 or whatever. If you want to skip that intro, it is 47 seconds long. I might change it in the future. I might make it shorter. I might say something different. But if you're one of those and you just want to like tap the 30-second, jump forward, or 15-second or whatever, it's 47 seconds. So we can go right into it. So how do I set my business up financially? As your small business starts to generate more and more revenue, you're going to want to look at a few things. Getting a legal structure set up. That's DBA, LLC, corporation, something like that. You also might have to deal with malpractice insurance, or just kind of, you said I slandered you and I didn't, kind of defamation of character kind of insurance. And you might want to also, have a checking account and a way to keep track of your accounting. And that's kind of what I want to talk about today. And again, one more time, I am not an attorney. I am not an accountant. I will share some of the things that I do and try to point you in the right direction, because this is a business. If you remember from one of the early shows of the Ellery Wells Show, we talked about, this is a business, having one of those sections. That's kind of what this is. And you need to be doing certain things to protect your family, protect your assets as a business owner. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time, so let's do this. If you go to your current insurance company, you can probably ask them, like, for who you have your homeowner's insurance, your car insurance, those kinds of things. You might be able to go to them and say, I am looking at business insurance. I went through and I found a company called Hiscox, Hiscox, and there's no show notes for this since we're basing most of this on a blog post, but I mentioned that name to a couple of friends. They said they'd heard of them, and I think they're out of the UK, tied to Progressive maybe. But getting yourself some insurance for your business, to where a lot of bloggers are getting harassed by this company that's saying that you may or may not be using images illegally. I don't remember their name. They are pretty scammy, but they are just trying to get people to settle for money. And it was around that time they said I did something that I did not do, that I started looking at this company and came across Hiscox. So you might want to look at that. I don't know what the revenue amount for your business, like once you reach that, at what point you need to be looking for insurance, but I think you should be expecting anything from, let's say, $40 to $100 a month. I know that's quite a bit of a range, but it depends on how much you are insured for, sorry, I think I sounded really Texan there. How much you're insured for, and the coverage, the amount, just like your homeowners and car insurance, guys, it can fluctuate. But the other thing that I wanted to talk about, and this is where Jessica Rhodes and I talked about the LLC versus an S Corp. I have an LLC. If you buy something from me, you will often be charged by Dwezywood Media LLC, and that's the company that I own. I do web hosting and design and website management and consulting and all sorts of things for more brick and mortar businesses, in addition to the coaching and mentoring that I do through coaching and masterminds. And Dwezywood Media is my company. And if you see that, just know that that's what that is. I went that route because I didn't want to keep minutes and have quarterly meetings and have to deal with stocks and shares and those kinds of things, which is what you would get into with a S or C Corp. Now, whenever I do file my taxes, like in Texas, I think I have to work with the franchise tax. The LLC is still a corporation of some sort, and you can either file an S or a P or C type of LLC. I can't remember. So again, I'm not the authority on this, but LLCs, if you go look at your attorney, what does he have? And your attorney is going to have the legal type of protection that is probably optimum for a solopreneur or a partnership or something like that. A lot of attorneys are LLPs, limited liability partnerships, and the LLC is a limited liability corporation. So you want that layer. So if you gave somebody bad advice as a coach, or you told them something, or you broke something, or you did something that could get somebody really mad at you, you have that layer of protection. Now, I don't know how much those are going to cost. It will depend on state by state. But a LLC should cost you anywhere from $700 to maybe $1,000, maybe $1,500. I've had clients go through LegalZoom, and they said the process was really easy, so easy that they feel like they could have done it themselves. I think that's fairly common, but for your first one, you might want to just have a professional look at it, give it a once over, and say, this is done the right way. And then you can do it on your own the next time. The last part I want to touch on is your banking, and I'm not going to recommend a bank. My personal philosophy on banks is that most of them suck. They charge you fees that are ridiculous, and then they don't pay you any interest, but they'll turn around and loan your money for 30%. Do you realize if you put $1,000 in your checking account and they pay you 1%, they're going to loan that $1,000 out to somebody else at 10, 15, 17, 19, 30%, and they're going to pocket the rest of it. And I'm all for capitalism and free enterprise and those kinds of things, but that's what they are doing. If you want to check out a really cool episode, I did one. Let me look it up real quick. It should be Empowered Podcast episode number 84. If you look up Nick Loper, if you search for him on my site, you should be able to find it. But he and I talked about doing microloans where you could possibly take that $1,000 and loan it to somebody else at an interest rate, and you kind of play the bank. It's not something that I have a whole lot of experience in, but he talked about that in 84. And then 64 with Jessica Rhodes. We talked about the LLCs versus the S Corp. But when you're talking about your banks, go with something that's not going to charge you fees. I remember when I first got started, it took me forever to generate enough money and revenue recurring to not have to pay any fees. So just start with a bank that's not going to charge you any fees anyway. I mean, upper limits, like if you they require $1,500 or $500 or $2,000 or something like that, and you dip below that, you might have to pay a fee, and that's kind of ridiculous. It's kind of counterintuitive to be charged when you don't have enough money in the first place. So find one and then see if it will link with your accounting software. And here's how I found Wave Apps. I wish I had an affiliate with them. I do not. But if you go to waveapps.com, you should be able to find what I'm talking about. Here's why I like Wave Apps. A few years ago, I was looking at accounting software, and you can buy Quicken, or you can get FreshBooks or Xero and all these kinds of things. And all of a sudden you can get a free trial, and then they'll start charging you like $25, give or take, a month. When you're first starting out, that might not be any money, or it might be quite a bit when you're selling 2 or 3 ebooks or a few copies of your books, $25, $30 a month. Plus, let's be honest, let's pocket that money. As entrepreneurs, it's okay to be a little bit stingy, and let's put that back in the bank and hire a coach or get better hosting or upgrade our software. Wave Apps is free. So I looked at these other guys and I was like, okay, I could pay the $30 a month. Let's call it $100, and I'll get all of my taxes done and ready to send in. But I don't want to pay $30 a month, 9 more months out of the year to get all of this information so I can file my taxes. Wave Apps is completely free. It connects to your bank. You log in, you sync your accounts, and they are using the freemium model. They have content. They invested a lot of money, because we're going to be talking about content marketing, right? Where they've invested a lot of money setting up the platform only to give it away so that they can have affiliates. They used to be supported by Google AdWords. those kinds of things. They are building they built a business, waveapps.com did, that we're talking about today. Putting in time, money, effort to create something that might fail, might not work, so that you can start making money later. I'm in their ecosystem. There's buttons. I'm logged into my account right now. You can pay for upsells for services, like to have online bill pay, to pay your contractors through this system if you want. If you go, and I'm going to click find an accountant, for example, they would get a referral fee, I'm sure, if I were to contact so-and-so. When I log in, it takes me, these accountants most likely have to pay to be in the directory. The reason why I'm spending so much time on this, because I like Wave Apps. I have tried a few, and I really enjoy their interface and how easy they are, and their price point of free, and B, because they have done a great job of having a freemium model, creating the content, creating the code, and all of these integrations and services that are built into their software, only to have people like me come in, and I've never paid them. I use their free service, and I think it's very robust, and I don't know much about their business, but it's probably pretty big and pretty successful. It might not by the time if you listen to this, in 2018 or 2019, they might have gone under. It doesn't affect me. I just move on. But they have a pretty good business model, and it is in direct alignment with how I've built my business, what I advocate for in my book Exit Strategy, and what we're talking about in the next couple of minutes. So that wraps it up. You might want to look at some insurance. You might want to look at an LLC or an S Corp. I would kind of stay away from the DBA, by the way. You still got to pay $100, $200 to have that filed. And I mean, there's a big difference between 200 and 700 or 200 and 1,000, but set it up right so that you can scale your business and, have your foundation right. You don't want to skimp on those kinds of things. And then if you I am here in Texas, if you make under $2 million a year, which I'm just scraping through that, just kidding, I've got a ways to go. But if you're making less than $1 million, $2 million, something like that, your franchise tax is considerably, or it's fairly low. So again, that will change depending on where you are, the size of your business, the type of your business, those kinds of things. But all right, let's get into some content marketing after the last 17 and a half minutes. If you want to leave a comment on this post, go to ElleryWells.com/content marketing. Let's go right in. Are you building a business from scratch? Are you trying to establish your brand and get noticed, but you're not sure how to do it or where to start? It's Saturday night, and I hadn't planned on working this evening. Ashley is out of town, and I spent most of the day playing Horizon Zero Dawn on my PlayStation. By the way, that's not the one that I mentioned I picked up. I picked up Tom Clancy's Wildlands today. I just finished eating part of a pepperoni pizza and cinnamon sticks from Domino's while watching part of the last X-Men movie, Apocalypse. And I was about to go outside with a cigar to read The Atlantis Plague on my new Kindle Paperwhite, but I didn't. Before I even made it outside, I thought back to a coaching call from earlier in the week, and I felt like there was still work to do at 9 o'clock on Saturday night. She and I, my coaching client and I, talked about content marketing and how to establish yourself as an authority by writing and recording the right types of content. I remembered her frustration. I also remember what it was like in the early years for me when almost nobody was visiting my site and even fewer people were reading my blog posts. But then I remember content marketing is how I built my business. It's the strategy I've used to generate tens of thousands of dollars in revenue for my business. And I remember that I wouldn't even have clients like her if I hadn't started writing down my thoughts back in 2012. So here I am writing my thoughts and sharing my experiences instead of reading a fiction book. By the way, if you want to know more details about how I share to create the types of content, how I share it, when to create it, and how you can tie your content into an effective marketing strategy, grab a copy of my book, Exit Strategy. You can search for Exit Strategy or Ellery Wells on Amazon, or if you would like a free copy of the paperback, go to ellerywells.com/free. But how do you build your business with content marketing? Creating content in your business is the process of taking your prospective clients on a journey. Your posts, videos, factory tours, and how-to material is how you will walk people through the process of getting to know you, like you, and feel like they can trust you. Instead of paying for celebrity endorsements, I'm going to talk to you about how you can employ what would get Mark Cuban's attention on Shark Tank: straight hustle. As the saying goes, entrepreneurs are the only people who would spend 80 hours a week working for themselves so they don't have to spend 40 hours a week working for someone else. And as Robert Rose said, traditional marketing and advertising is telling the world you're a rock star. Content marketing is showing the world that you are one. So in my book, Exit Strategy, in chapter 20, I give my readers 3 tasks. Number 1, create content. Number 2, download and use my blog post idea web tool, which also, by the way, can be used for videos or anything else. It's called the blog post idea web. It does not have to be strictly used for creating blog content. And number 3, create more content. I've divided it up like this because I want you to write, record, cook, film, and produce as much content as you can, up to and including the point at which you completely run out of ideas. And remember, that won't happen. Next, using the blog post idea web, you can turn one idea into several more. I do this all the time, and begin creating a network of content that will keep your audience engaged for hours, months, years maybe. Then finally, it's time to create more material using the ideas generated during step 2, which again was using the idea web. This method, if you use it correctly and you do it time and time again, which I do, and most successful people do this too. If you do this, it will help you create a never-ending supply of ideas, which you can use to create a plethora of sweaters. I'm just kidding. That's another joke. You create a plethora of content to help you market your business. So step 1, create valuable content. Every conversation you're a part of can be the seed for content creation. If someone asks you about the process you use to weed out all but the best of the job candidates, you can create a checklist or a training video documenting that process. When your mom says, "I really have no idea what to do," take that as an opportunity to record a behind the scenes video or add to your about page you created while we were working through chapter 17 of Exit Strategy. Once you train your brain to be on the lookout, every comment, question, Facebook group post, BuzzFeed video, which I kind of hate BuzzFeed now, by the way, or core question can be used to spark an idea. Write all of those down in an Evernote file. That's exactly what I do. Get an idea instead of, losing that idea, which would possibly suck a lot, but or taking the time out of what you're doing to write or create that piece of content. Just write it down in Evernote and you have it at your desk, on your phone, wherever. There are people everywhere out there asking questions to which you have the answer, and all you have to do is find them and be willing to provide value without asking for anything in return. So here are a few tips for creating really valuable content. Content is everywhere, and ideas for that content is everywhere. So take a look at some of these ways you can fill your content calendar with blog posts, videos, other types of material you want to read and consume. Number 1, take notes. As I mentioned before, I put everything in Evernote, and I can't tell you how many of my blog posts and videos have come as a result of a conversation. So take notes of valuable conversations. Explaining things to my wife, explaining things to a coaching client, and answering questions from friends or colleagues have all led to pretty solid content ideas that people have found real value in around my site and podcast and YouTube videos. And I would suggest that you do the exact same thing. Keep an Evernote file, like I mentioned, and each note can be turned into a new post or new video. Number 2, solved problems. Yep, I said solved with the D that have been in the past. If you have solved a problem for yourself, why not share how you did it with your audience? Number 3, use templates. See chapter 15 of Exit Strategy for more details on that. I think I have a few templates you can go and download specifically. Number 4, use Q&A sites like Reddit and Quora. I wrote a blog post about that. And again, if you want to see any of these links or get taken directly there, go to ElleryWells.com/content marketing. And the last tip for creating some really valuable content is to think, what else? The most successful companies are the ones that, got to be grammatically correct. They're the ones that create ecosystems and communities around their products or services. Think the iPhone and all of the iPhone accessories that give more credibility and resale value to that iPhone. So what else is causing your avatar to struggle? What else do they need help with? What else do they have questions about? And think, how else can I help these people that are coming to me for more information? If you're having trouble coming up with new ideas for content, just pick up the phone and call one of your existing customers. If you don't yet have customers, get in contact with someone who's read your content, sampled your products, or is just even aware of what your goal is. If you're just starting out, you might not have anybody who's done those other things, but who have you shared your idea with, who knows what you're trying to do, and ask them how they like your goal, what they would like to see, or if you were to achieve your goal, how it might impact them. If they've purchased for you, if you do have customers, ask them how they are liking your product or how they're using it. And here's a bonus tip for you. See what else your customers purchased to go along with what they bought from you. We don't only buy jackets when it's cold. We also need toboggans, gloves, scarves, pants, and those kinds of things too. We don't just buy books. We grab new highlighters, bookmarks, and journals to go along with them. Hence, go buy Exit Strategy. The ecosystems that surround our products are out there if we are willing to look for them. It will take possibly a lot of time to figure out what those ecosystems are, but they are there, I promise you. When you can create the product and influence the ecosystem, your profits will soar and your clients will reward you. Memorable experiences are much more profitable than simple monetary exchanges. I'll give you a practical example from this. People who are in my coaching and mastermind programs, they end up buying it's usually not just a sole product or service purchase that they make. They have coaching from me, and they also buy my books, or they have gotten hosting or consulting from the Dwizzywood media side of my business, and they want more of that consulting, so they hire me to coach them. Or do you see where this is going? Very few times in our life do we buy just a single item. When you go to the burger place, do you get just a burger, or do you get fries and a drink or a milkshake or heart attack to go with it? Do you see what I mean? Case in point, hopefully you can see how this applies directly to you and your business. Step 2, use the blog post idea web. Back in 2014, I realized how much overlap there was in my content. I wasn't creating the same material over and over. I wasn't duplicating it or copying it and pasting it, but I was creating an interconnected web of posts that linked to one another and increased the value I had to offer. When I realized this network of blog posts, podcast episodes, and videos was keeping visitors on my site longer, the real world example might be, this is the real world, but the physical location example means people are in your store longer. But it boosted my overall influence and authority, as it would do for you, and it enhanced my domain authority. And I started to see if other people were doing the exact same things that I was doing by creating this web of content. And some of the big players were, but most people were not intentionally creating a content network that could keep readers, viewers, shoppers engaged. So to help my readers then, and to help you out now as you're listening to this, as you're and working on your content creation efforts, I created the blog post idea web, which you can go to ElleryWells.com/ideaweb, I think. And again, you can always go to /content marketing to grab those links directly, but you can grab that and get started, and I will show you kind of how to do that in the download that you get. You'll have plenty of details. But anyway, every time I have done this exercise with the IdeaWeb, I've come away with more ideas that I can create content about. One of the key elements to the success of this exercise using this IdeaWeb is to link from your original idea to the new ones that support it or contradict it later. Don't forget to go back to the initial post or video and add the links back to the new content. A lot of people refer back to old stuff, but go back to the old, go back into your archives and link to the new stuff. So when people read the old stuff, they will know that you're still talking about it and it is still a new, relevant material. Take these ideas and approach them with a different perspective. Be your own devil's advocate, or update your opinion since, you've learned more and grown since you wrote the original post or created the original piece of content. Those kinds of things. I refer to that process as cross-pollination. It's the idea of taking one idea and spreading it around to generate new ideas and content, and it helps your visitors remain engaged for longer. And who knows, if you approach the problem from a different angle, you might reach somebody who you didn't necessarily reach before. It's like when you're explaining a math problem one way, and if you come at it from a different angle with a different approach, you might be able to get somebody to understand it. And I only mention that because we were making fun of Common Core math, which is just terribly, terribly awful. But whoever invented that should I don't know, excommunicate them or something. Anyway, step 3, create more content. So step 1, create content. Step 2, take those ideas and create a network of engaging material using the IdeaWeb. And then step 3, create more content. Trust me, you cannot have too much content. You cannot share too many things about you and your business and what you're working on, because it will continue to bring people in. And as you continue to create stuff, you're telling people that you're still in business. Have you ever gone to a website and you're like, this is the digital equivalent of like dusty shelves, and you don't even know if this person's in business? Because if you pay for the domain and it doesn't go away, and you keep paying for your hosting, you might have stale content that's up there. So when you by creating more, you're bringing people into your sphere of influence, and you're telling people, I'm still around, I'm still relevant. But wouldn't it be nice if we could create one incredible piece of work and then relax for the rest of our days? Yeah, maybe. I don't know. That might sound good, but that only works for 19th century painters and other artists who weren't really recognized for their greatness until after they were dead. I wish I had the wah wah sound, but I just made it, so we don't need it. But that only works. I think Van Gogh was kind of like not a cool painter until long after he had died. A lot of painters are that way. But any company who wants to be successful has to be continually innovating, inventing, and producing amazing products long after they feel like doing it. In music, we call those one-hit wonders, like the guys who wrote the Friends theme song. I'm not going to sing it because I can't sing, but maybe you get a royalty deal like Mr. Wonderful on Shark Tank, and you make money in perpetuity. That usually doesn't happen. But using the blog post IdeaWeb and the templates from chapter 15 of Exit Strategy, which you should go check out, create as many blog posts, Instagram photos, YouTube videos, Snapchat stories, Periscope scopes, blabs, and tweets for Twitter as you possibly can. Don't dilute the impact of your message by putting out mediocre, crappy, less than amazing content, but share your best work with the world. Tell us how you've got that glass of water we're looking for, and I talk about all the time, and we will come and see if it's true. Create, and create some more. Push the limits. If it makes you feel uncomfortable, like if you think it might be sharing too much, write about it, record about it, and share about it. Your success will be found beyond your comfort zone. Let people in. Peel back the layers and let people in. And ultimately, I want to know how this sits with you. Is it more or less work than you imagined? Have your content marketing efforts been invigorating or have they been exhausting? Kind of like this episode. Has it been energizing? Did you get new ideas? Or are you ready to go to the next one? But either way, it is a lot of work, and this is the life of an entrepreneur, and I welcome you to it. Thank you for tuning in to the audio version of the Ellery Wells Show, or the blog, I guess. The show is mostly audio anyway. I want to tell you something real quick. If you have pulled up the feed, like if you've gone to iTunes or Stitcher and you're going back through older episodes, I've gone back and integrated some of my audio blogs. So if you pull up the feed or you refresh it and you're like, why do I have 7, 10, to whatever unlistened to episodes? It's because I have put that content back in there so that you don't have to go and search for it. So go back and listen to some of those episodes. They may not be as flavorful and spicy as this one was. They may be more closely tied to the blog content, but I think there is some valuable information. If you don't read the blog, I would really encourage you to go and check out some of that content. For example, why did I choose to self-publish my second book? 10 questions you should ask before you hire that big expensive coach. What is the science behind the success? How Pokemon has taken over the world and how you can apply it, the lessons I learned from that, to your business. Why it's never too late to get started. 4 questions that will help you get clarity in your business. That's a big one. Mind share versus market share, and which one is better for your business. Those are just a few of the ones that I would highly recommend that you check out. Going back to October, November, December of 2015, the content's still good. In my other feed, a lot of downloads on those. So I wanted to bring those into the Ellery Wells Show so you can check those out in iTunes, Stitcher, those kinds of things. But thank you for listening to the audio edition. I'm your host, Ellery Wells from Round Rock, Texas. I hope you have an awesome day.